Joel is the president of Thames International, a college committed to developing a new order of business professionals, equipped with an entrepreneurial spirit and creative outlook on the world. Even in this pandemic, Thames stays true to its word and continuously supplying quality education to its students online. Joel is always there to give a helping hand, and that is one of many things that make him the successful person that he is today.
Welcome, guys. Good afternoon, Philippines, and welcome to another episode of In Love with Me. And as you can see, we have a very inspiring gentleman with me this afternoon. He will share his story. He will share how he is the empowered man that he is today. So without further ado, let me introduce to you guys Mr. Joel Santos. Hi, Joel.
Hey, good afternoon. Hey, Mafae. Thanks for inviting me over.
Of course, I've always been interested on your journey, your story. Every time I see you at Thames or any business seminars, you always inspire and empower others. So I wanted you to be part of this so that you can be a motivator to everyone, most especially at this time. So we start with possibly, like I said earlier, you can share your story. How did you become the empowered man that you are today?
I think the word empowered is actually a very strong word. Why did you say empowered is the word? Actually, I don't want to say I'm empowered. I think I'm just me. I think we're a sum of all of our experiences, right? So maybe a bit about me. I'm after college, I studied in Ateneo, the usual route that everybody wants to get during my time, right? I'm 50, so during my time, there's only 3 schools to go to, and if you don't go to those 3 schools, parang Ateneo, UP Lasal, parang you're not successful, right? So everybody wants to go to Ateneo, UP Lasal. So I ended up in Ateneo, and then but I actually wanted to study abroad and see the world, but then we couldn't afford it. So I went to Ateneo, and then right after school, I got into at least at that time, the most coveted job, and that was to work for P&G. So Procter & Gamble was handling Safeguard and Rejoice. But somehow, at that time, being the corporate world wasn't enough, and I wanted something that would push me to be more creative, and I ended up starting my own business. So I became a Nestle distributor. What does that mean? I sell noodles, coffee, and all of those things to hotels and restaurants. It was making a lot of money, but I didn't really enjoy it. No offense to hotels, right? I mean, the hotels on the front part, they're really, really nice, friendly, and everything. But at the back end, it's a totally different world, especially during that time. Plus, there was no technology, so I would sleep in my warehouse, count all of the cases of the coffee, the noodles, and everything to make sure nothing. It's a manual, so nothing gets lost. I didn't like that. I felt that I wanted something more. So Then suddenly somebody knocked at my door. They were Magnolia retirees, and for those who don't know, Magnolia used to be the number one ice cream in the Philippines. So this Magnolia is going to say, "Hey Joel, we like your business. Are you willing to sell it?" I said, "You're going to buy my business?" I said, "Sure." So I gave a price, which is basically 2 times whatever I put in, and I was only less than a year. So, and without a bat, they actually bought it. So within a year, I got 2 times whatever money I put in. So I said, "Wow, this is good." Of course, later on in life, I realized that's actually cheap. But then, okay na yun, di ba? You put in this money, in less than a year, you double it. And that got me introduced to the world of the venture capitalist world, where you can actually buy and sell companies. So I ended up being in that business in the financial world, where we would fund, we would buy and sell businesses. And during the 90s, that was what you call the glory days of the Philippines. Just throw money anywhere and it will grow. So everybody was partying. Every night it was a party. There's so much money. If I mean, you don't experience that now, but imagine me young. I was young. I was in the finance world. We were making money every night, partying every night. Everybody was flying in and out, and it was crazy. It was so crazy, and everybody remembers that time. That is from 92 to 96, and then suddenly in 97, the whole world crashed. You know, so the whole world crashed in the financial crisis, and I was managing director of the fund, and we had to sell our companies, and so we made money, but then I had to go to each and every company that we sold and told them there's a new owner. And usually when it's a crisis, the new owners don't want the employees. So at the age of 28, I had to go to each and every company we owned and told the employees that there's now a new owner, and all of them would be given their separation pay. So I laid off 600 plus people at the age of 28. Not a good feeling. You have money in your pocket, but you lay off people who are the age of your father. That wasn't a good feeling. So that's when I realized in that the world of the venture capitalists was that, hey, you have money in your pocket, but then maybe you're not helping people's lives, right? And the sad part was when you lay off people, a lot of them actually cried because they lost their jobs. So I think to see an older man cry in front of you because they lost their job and you're the one that actually laid them off, it's not a good feeling. So I think that was a driving point. That was a big turning point. And I said, the next thing I need to do is definitely not just a pure finance business. And so I was looking for a business that I felt had an impact. So together with another friend, we were looking at what to start with the money I earned. And I said, maybe what's a business that helps people? There are two things. It's either a school or a hospital. So then we said, we're still young. Medyo siguro parang mahirap to be in the hospital kasi there's so many sick people, nakaka-depress naman yun, di ba? So let's start the school. We tried to buy a university. We bidded for one of the big universities, but we lost. And because we lost, we said, let's just start the schools from scratch. So we went around. I said, if we're going to start the schools from scratch anyway, let's not do what everybody's doing. So we went around Asia and looked at different school models, and we realized meron palang option. No, we were checking how come Singaporeans, Malaysians, and they all graduate abroad. Like me, I wanted to study abroad, but I couldn't afford. I said, but sila ang dami lang, how come they're all able to study? Then I realized there's this program para where you do, it's called a twinning, so where you do 2 years in the Philippines and then you fly out and you finish your degree abroad in the UK or Australia. So basically, instead of spending 4 years abroad, it's only you only budget for a year. And I said, hey, this would help. This could help make studying abroad more affordable, and so that's it. So we started Thames 20 years ago, and that was the concept. You do 2 years here and 1 year abroad in the UK, and it was hard at the onset because we have these two young punks below their 30s starting a school, a college, and traditional colleges didn't like that. And what's more, we were the first international college. They didn't like that either. We had a lot of opposition from the traditional universities. They actually wanted us closed down. So, but I mean, we're school, we're legal. It's just a new model. And that's when I realized that when you're really pioneering, you will always go against the old guards. And the old guards wanted us closed down, imagine. So we're like there. I was 29. You have these presidents of universities with PhDs saying, you guys have no right to run a school. But at that time, our partner was the University of Cambridge. So I had that name backing me up, right? So that kind of silenced a lot of them. So that's the story, and the school did quite well. The school did quite well. A lot of Filipinos were able to afford studying abroad, and we sent a lot of students to the UK and Australia. During that time, I think we sent about 200 plus. Within 3 years. I mean, that was the biggest thing, and it's very successful. And then we had another crisis. Another crisis. What was that crisis? It was a crisis of our past president, President Arab. So there was a crisis during this time where the peso, because the economy was going nuts because there were corruption issues and everything. So the economy collapsed again. That was 2000 and then or 2001. I can't remember. But then what happened was that the economy collapsed and my students couldn't study abroad. And we pivoted. So we pivoted to the first entrepreneur school or entrepreneurship degree in the country. And that's when we launched our other school, the Entrepreneur School of Asia, which also became very successful, very pioneering. We were the one who had the first degree that you have to graduate with the business. 2005, that's when we started. So again, pioneering. Also did very well. A lot of the second generation went to Thames Entrepreneur School of Asia because it was the school for the next gen. So we did well, and we bounced back again, right? But then I went through my own soul searching. I got bored being in education, so I left. I was turning 40. So I said, what am I gonna do? And I got bored for whatever reason. People go through that, but they call it midlife. I think there's no midlife crisis. We're always searching, but I think I was looking for something. I didn't know what it was, so I decided to just leave the Philippines. I just moved to Singapore with no plan, and I wanted to go somewhere where I didn't know anybody, so I went to Singapore. Of course, I knew one person at minimum for moving there. So I moved and started applying for jobs, starting from scratch. Ended up working for APEC, when we hosted Obama when he came to Asia. So I worked for the government. It was a government project in Singapore. We hosted Obama. It's fun. Then I stayed in Singapore for the next couple of years. And then from there, I ended up working in other companies. I ended up working with Philippine Airlines. Then I also ended up becoming CEO of a food company in the States called Franklin Baker. So there's all of these things. So for 10 years, I left education and explored the world. So that I think gave me in a way, being in school, I was already global because we were traveling a lot, sending kids abroad to study. But then actually working and running companies in other countries gave me a different perspective. And so when I had a chance to go back to school to Thames, that was the perspective I had, right? Somebody who was a global manager, a global executive. Uh, and coming back to the school, I said two things, right? Uh, we cannot run education. We were already pioneering before, but again, I said coming back, it's another. People are saying this pivot, right? But when I came back 2 years ago to Thames, I said we cannot run education the same way. And so since 2 years ago, we were really looking at online education already. And so when the lockdown happened, we were ready. Nobody's really ready, but we were more ready than the rest, and hence the students were able to continue their education despite the fact that we had no physical school. Right? They closed the school, but we had to close the whole campus. But then the students. So that's the long and short of it. I guess you can call me as I've had about three pivots, right? From a corporate guy to an entrepreneur finance guy to an educator, back corporate, and then back to education. So I think I'm back full circle to I think which is my passion, which is education, making a difference through education, but coming from a different perspective already, coming from a perspective of a more global point of view, and looking at moving forward, we really cannot maintain the way we do things. And this pandemic just highlighted that even more, right? So that's the long and short of it.
And so inspiring because you've done so much. You experienced so much in your journey that you have so much to tell, so much to teach. Especially the Thames students. So what?
I don't think I've done so much. I think the term is I've done a lot of mistakes. So more than I've done so much. Usually I don't know. When people look at it, they only see the stuff that people have done well, right? But there's always more mistakes than actually the thing that you've done well.
Well, that's what they say. You have to have these challenges to make yourself stronger because you, of course, will not make the same mistake again, right? So for you, what is the most rewarding part of being in the education profession? Most especially in Thames, because it's pretty much what you're doing as a entrepreneur. You're teaching them how to be future successful businessmen and women.
You know what? I think the most fulfilling part is we're a small school, right? Mafae. I mean, the fact that I could for me it's fulfilling when I could have a chat with the student in between classes, talk about anything, uh, um, and just be like a tito. It's parang tito talaga. Dati when we were starting, parang barkada kasi as 29, right? So my students were 20. So hindi ka pa tito nun eh. Of course now I'm like a tito, di ba? So parang it's like just having that kind of interaction with family and with parang family friends. For me, that's already fulfilling in itself. Eh. There's this big thing that I've changed their lives. I've made them into this and that. Those are just like big words. Actually, it's these little small interactions. In the corridor or in the atrium. That's actually quite fulfilling. To say you don't have to impact people always in a big way. These small conversations actually has a lot of impact also. So I've realized that also, especially now with the COVID, that small conversations actually have the same or sometimes even bigger impact than big, dramatic coming together. And I say that because, um, uh, conversations at the right time uh, iba yung impact. For example, everybody's struggling now, right? I I give a call to a friend and we just talk for 5 to 10 minutes. That makes a big impact on the person because sometimes when you call, it's at the time they're so upset, frustrated, or stressed with the issue. So 10 to 15 minute call makes a big difference. In the same way for me, if and somebody calls 10 to 15, just say hi, hello, kamusta na? Ano ba? We don't even have to have that 1 hour conversation. 10 to 15 thing, just knowing that somebody remembered you and said hello, actually may impact na yun eh. So that's why I say those little conversations that I have with the students on whatever topic in the corridor after class or in between uh, are already fulfilling in a lot of ways.
Speaking of students, we have one of my students asking you a question right now. What piece of advice would you give to an entrepreneur student like me in order to become a successful entrepreneur? So I guess while at school, how can she maintain to be a businesswoman?
So when I was in college, I joined an org called ISEC. Now ISEC is an international org, and we always have to travel a lot. Now my parents, the entrepreneurs, they would say, "Ito, this is the only money we have." Um, the first time I ever traveled outside of the country was fourth year high school. Okay, kids now at age 3 or 4, they can already travel. First time I traveled was fourth year high school. Hong Kong lang yun. Big thing na yun, di ba? Mahal-mahal kasi to travel before. So I'm putting things in context. First time to travel for me was fourth year high school, Hong Kong lang. Kasi that's the only thing we can afford. So in college, ISEC, there's so much travel, Australia, New Zealand, so and all of these things. So Singapore and all of that, Japan. So my parents said, "Yeah, travel, you go make your own money because we can't afford that." And so I became an entrepreneur in high school. Uh, I started the business I did was what you call overruns. I would buy from the factories and then fix them up and resell them again. So the business I had was I would buy the Ralph Lauren overruns that you would buy for about 4,000 pesos during my time. About three for a polo, right? About 3,000 pesos. I'd buy them for really cheap, clean them up, sew them up, and I'd sell them for 1,000 pesos. So so I was making tons of money in college that allowed me to travel. So my first advice, if you wanna be an entrepreneur in college, is that you have to be hungry. Diba? You have to be hungry for something. And what was I hungry about? I was hungry to travel. So my parents wouldn't give me money. Without that hunger, it will not push you to look for something. Because if I wasn't hungry to travel, a small business that would earn a little bit, okay na eh. But my hunger and desire was to travel. So I needed to make enough to travel. And that was a lot. So you have to be hungry for something. You have to desire something that you cannot have, and that will drive you to do something. So that's one.
Yeah, that's a great advice because if you want something in life, you have to go and act and do it yourself. Not forever your parents will be there to honor whatever your wants and needs are. There's a certain point that you have to learn how to achieve it, right, Joel?
Yeah,
Um, Go ahead.
and the term hunger is really
Mhm.
important,
Yeah.
especially with the young now, because they have everything easy. So when you have everything easy, you never feel hungry for something, right? You want to travel, it's there, you have it. You want to buy something, order from the internet, it comes. So sometimes that's why we try to see if in Thames we can revive that hunger in them. And like, what's that? Like, one hunger is that, look, we try to tell them, hey, the Philippines is great, but is this your world? There's a bigger world out there. And so we say, try to aim to go and finish in the UK or Australia and our partner in the world. So suddenly they're aiming for something. not just to graduate, diba? Aim for something bigger and higher. And that's why we try to expose them to the other things outside. Because the challenge is, and no offense to us Filipinos, we're really all spoiled there. We're really all spoiled brats. We live in a bubble. You have a driver, you have a kasambahay, you have everything, everything is full service. So here we basically all feel like we're millionaires, right? Because of the lifestyle we do. You go outside the country, you're actually very poor. So we live in a bubble. We don't have, there's no hunger. It's an artificial thing. And that's why I encourage that the kids really have to go outside and to see what the real world is. Eh. They'll see billionaires driving their own car, cooking their own lunches. When you see the documentaries of the Bill Gates of the world, you see a documentary of Bill Gates. He had no maid in his house. They were cooking their own food. They were making their own breakfast. Right? He's the richest guy in the world. So that's what is reality, not the world we live in. And that's why I say hunger is something we have to reinstill in most of the young people.
Yes, I agree with that because um, you have to be responsible for your own needs. It makes you grow as a person, and you're, like you said, you're more hungry and you're more you know what you desire in life. But I want to go back because what I love about Thames is that you have a program on teaching creatives how to be business people. You always say, and this sticks to me because it's such a nice thing to know because for one, I also manage talents and I always want to encourage them to know the business side. But for you, you have a program where you actually encourage and teach on how to make, let's say, a photographer, a film director, or even an actor or a singer to own their own business. And you did partner up with Apple the App with his foundation on even giving out scholarships to his scholars, right? So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
See my couple. It's on.
Yeah,
It's creative. See, my cup says creative. It's
right.
funny. Uh, the when I went back, the British Council has always been my partner in Thames because now of our heritage, right? So, so one of the things that has uh, when I went back and I said, hey, what are the new programs of the British Council? And they said, oh, we're promoting creative enterprise. And then when I studied and I went deeper into the model of I realized that the UK creative industry is their fastest growing industry because they've been able to combine art plus business plus tech. And and when I look at the Philippines, we're such a creative country and we pride ourselves as creatives. But then we're actually called starving artists. And we're starving artists not because we lack creativity, but we lack the other components that will unleash the full potential of creativity. And that is putting in the business side and the tech side. And hence this program that we created the, in THEMS called Innovation and Creative Enterprise. It's a combination of art, creative, business, and tech. Now, if you want the ultimate example of a successful combination of art, business, and tech, it's the world's biggest hotel group. Who is that? That's Airbnb. Of course, they may be suffering now, but Airbnb was started by a graphic designer and by a fine arts graduate and an interior designer from RISD, one of the top art schools in New York. So these two artists, but how did they do that? It's because they learned business and they partnered and they got another partner who did the tech side. So you see, that combination of art, business, and tech can become the biggest hotel group in the world, right? It's not Sheraton, it's not the Shangri-La, it's Airbnb started by two artists. Want another example? What's the biggest music, what's one of the biggest music companies now worth billions, it is not Warner Music or Sony Music. It's actually another musician, business and tech combination. And what's that? Spotify. Again, it's art, business, and tech. Music, business, and tech. You have Spotify, right? So, so, so that's why we have this program, which is now going on its fourth batch. It's really to convert the starving artist to a to what we call a creative entrepreneur, right? With the full potential of what he can do with his creativity by giving him the tools of business and tech. So that's the long and short of it.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a great, you are helping a lot of people in that aspect because there's a lot of creatives, there's a lot of ideas, but to start it off or be operational, it's best that you know your business too, right?
Yeah, and actually now,
Mhm.
unfortunately, the creative industry are the ones suffering the most.
Mhm.
Just the ones suffering the most are tourism, the restaurants, and the creative industry. Why? Because the creative is very experiential, but like the performing arts, right? So, but the thing is, it is experiential based on a physical manifestation. The same with tourism. So, so now this thing that we're talking about that has to be creative with tech is now beginning to sink into people because the only restaurants that are making money are the ones who have an online component, right? If you're a restaurant without an online, then you're not making money. Actually, you're zero revenue. Only the ones that are able to serve the market through their online platforms, online deliveries are able to function. And the same with artists. We really have to catch up in putting in the tech because there's distancing, right? Physical distancing. You cannot be physically present anymore. So this drives home the fact that our creative community has to now put the tech into their craft.
So I guess that that answers this question, or you can expand it. From Ella, can you share your thoughts on how the entrepreneurial landscape would change in the short term and long term? What do you think?
Um, I know gas-gas na, di ba? Yung sinasabi lang new normal, di ba? But actually, the new normal has been existing. It's just, and what's the new normal? E-commerce, right? So, I mean, we have been buying stuff from Lazada, from Shopee. We've been ordering from Food Panda and all the rest. But it's just a by the way. Parang, natamad ako lumabas. Sige, order lang tayo sa Food Panda. Di ba? Natamad ako mag-shopping ngayon. Sige, baka nasa Lazada na. It's like a by the way, right? So it's gonna move from by the way to the norm. That's a difference. So e-commerce is one. So, for example, on the Thames side, we had to move from pure tradition, which is face-to-face, to online, because that's the new normal. And but because that's how it is. And then also on the school side, uh, when we start this year, e-commerce was a one of the courses. Now it's going to be integrated in all because e-commerce is like it's the new normal, right? So now when we start the school year, we're the first, again, part of the pioneering. Will be the first college and senior high school in the country that's integrated e-commerce all the way because that's the way to do business. So that will be the first one to launch that. Thames is the partner of the Department of Trade and Industry on e-commerce learning. So we're a partner on the trade on the corporate side. So I'm bringing that to the college level. So that's one. E-commerce is the new normal. Number two, the other one is I hope this is not short term, but people are gonna start sourcing a lot of the things locally. Dati kasi, di ba, everything was like import, import, import. But you realize with the pandemic, you cannot rely on things outside your country. You have to be self-sufficient. So look what happened. We don't have our own PPEs. We don't have our own face masks. We don't have our protective gear. Our doctors and nurses were getting sick and dying because we had to wait for imports. But if we had that, then we could have saved a lot of lives, right? Imagine that one. Just for face masks and protective gear, we have to import. So now countries are saying, yeah, we cannot rely on everything from the outside. We have to start going local again. So you're gonna see that uh, happening rapidly. And I hope that's not a short term thing because we need that. It's actually very sad that the Philippines is the I don't know if you guys know this. We are the number one importer of rice in the world. The country that invented the miracle rice is the biggest importer of rice in the world. So sad, right? And we also now import fish. I don't know if you know that. 7,200 islands and we import fish. We're a big agri country and we import rice. We're an archipelago of 7,200 and we import fish. There's something wrong in that. And by going local, I hope we can start changing that. So just two trends, right? One is that one, that's for sure. Uh, E-commerce and then going local. The third, which is short term, is we're gonna go. No, it's not gonna be short term. It's actually also gonna be a contact-less society, right? Less contact. Whether it's work from home, wala nang cash, di ba? E-payment na lang kasi there's so much germs in cash, you know? So a lot of this contactless. Take it from that. It doesn't mean no contact. It's not contactless. It is contactless as much as possible. So you're gonna see more takeouts. As much as we like hanging on restaurants, you're gonna not see that for a while. And the gyms, people realize, okay pala to work out from the house. Hindi na problema, right? Before I said, I can't be motivated unless I'm in the gym. Diba? I have to see all of these sweaty, hardworking bodies beside me to get motivated. Wala na, you're stuck at home. Suddenly, everybody said, okay na pala, I could work. I don't need my gym membership. So again, diba? Contactless. So the essential contact would be very selective. And those are three things I could say: e-commerce, going local, and then a contactless society.
So let's go back to you, Joel. For yourself, I know there are times like this where we have challenging times as a human. We also have our off days. So what is your ritual or your mantra or your form of me time? Do you meditate? Do you keep researching? Because I know you have endless ideas. You have endless, experiences, like you said, that you like to share. But for you, how do you keep yourself motivated when you feel off?
Well, I just watch Netflix for 24 hours. That's not true. I don't watch TV. So I don't watch TV. So but now I've appreciated Netflix. So okay. So what's my ritual? My ritual is I have to start the day with it wasn't like this. This thing has started siguro last quarter of 2019. So I start my day with at least meditation and prayer, so that I do that, and it just keeps me centered. Just keeps me centered, but it is actually meditation prayer with a journal. I have to write it down. So because if not, you fall asleep. It works for me. if you're just meditating, di ba, and trying to pray for a note, you're asleep. But if you're writing, it keeps you awake. So I do that. Then the rest of the time, it's work. I do I I've been trying to lose weight. I used to be a hardcore triathlete, but I stopped about 5 years ago. So when I was turning 40, alam mo na, di ba? Crisis, whatever. So I did what every midlife crisis A-type guy did, was going to triathlon. Lahat ng mga A-type nun eh. They all don't look fit. They feel that they've lost themselves. So they all went to triathlon. That's really how it was. I was part of the second batch of triathletes. Konti pa kami nun. Then everybody came into this whole thing. Lahat siya naghahanap ng trying to get back to the youth. So I was a hardcore triathlete. But then I stopped after I got injured. And I gained weight. It's very hard to come back. The being locked down allowed me to get the rhythm back in working out. But it's only 30 minutes, but 6 times a week. And I realized just 30 minutes, 6 times a week consistently has more effect than these crazy diets that one goes to. So consistency, diba? I've learned that having a consistent bite-sized activities have a bigger impact. And that's why I was sharing a while ago, these small little things, but done consistently, plant the seeds for a bigger thing. So yeah, and in between, it's really a lot of work. I've never been so overworked till the lockdown. Moving from where we were to suddenly 100% online and working from home, coordinating everybody is tough. And the fact that you can't get out of the house, di ba? Kating-kating ka na, di ba? So lumabas, di ba? Pero hindi pwede. When you compound everything, it's actually very stressful. So I realize when people say it's stressful, it is stressful. No matter how nice your house is, you're still in prison eh. So before, right, we would complain, ano ba yung house arrest na yan, di ba? Nasa resort naman sila eh. It's not eh. You cannot get out. It's psychological than physical. And during the lockdown, the first year, sige, basta as long as I exercise 30 minutes a day, and I was doing hard, di ba, 30 minutes lang. And then, okay na yun. You'd be able to balance. Actually, it's not true. I actually, there's a point I was telling my team inside the school, I'm actually stressed to death. There's something I wasn't doing. And what I wasn't doing was, what I lacked pala was socialization. It's like, work, eat, work out, di ba, ganun. Then, yun yung nawala eh, socialization. Having socialization on a video, it's not the same. And that was the one that was causing me a lot of psychological stress. Not being able to socialize with friends and family in a physical state, right? Not with a video. When I realized that, then that's when I tried to just call friends for like 10 to 15 minutes. Because it's a phone call, it's not a Zoom, right? So it's different. So that's been the routine, right? So this has helped really understand ourselves better, right?
We go back to the simple ways. Even before cell phones, right? Even before the internet, we used to call, or if you go really way back, pagers.
But yeah, actually 3 days ago, they finally allowed us to get out of our houses in the village where I stay. Kasi we were one of the first villages na there was a PUI. So biglang, they became so strict. So since 65 days ago, we weren't allowed to leave our houses. I mean, other villages where my friends were, subdivisions, they're allowed to get out of their house and walk on the street. In our since 65 days ago, none. We were only allowed 3 days ago. And I ran. Like, I ran like I never ran before. Actually, I don't really put things in Facebook, but I posted that. I said, this is memory for me. I never, just like the feel of running, your feet, you know, against the pavement, uh, uh, the air, and that's at night, the air, uh, the whole feeling of freedom mentally, was mentally, uh, was a mental boost, really. It is a mental boost. So, so for me, I couldn't forget. And I didn't, I ran for about an hour. I didn't even feel it. Bitin pa nga ako eh. But then it's dinner time na eh. I just, I just want to run. Parang si Forrest Gump, for those who watch Forrest Gump. If you haven't watched Forrest Gump, the freedom of just going out there. That's how I felt. There was really this, parang nakakawala. Yan ang pwede kong i-describe sa feeling. Nakakawala ka sa hawla mo. And that's what we all need to do safely now, right? We have to take care of our mental well-being and find our way to have some freedom. And unfortunately, for the ones below 20, right, you're not allowed. Buti pa yung mga senior citizens, di ba? Pwede silang lumabas ng bahay if they have their parents. That's a joke. So, it's a joke or nothing. So, senior citizen ka, pwede ka lumabas pagkasama mo parent mo. Stupid. So, but I feel bad for the kids, di ba? Hindi sila makalabas. So for the kids below 20, you have to find your own way to have psychological freedom if you can't have it from a physical state. Mm-hmm. And that's really challenging.
Yeah, and this is a generation that is into gadgets or into online. So of course, with the positive content that we are creating, of course, with Thames also being online now, it helps that parents can also reach out to you and find some, online education that they can be busy with, right? So with that, before we wrap up, Joel, I know we can talk on and on and on. You've got so many motivating stories, other stories to tell. But for now, please share with us your words of wisdom on how people can stay hopeful and to stay motivated to keeping their dreams and whatever passions that they want to do in life, to know that they can still do it.
Actually, I smiled a bit when you say words of wisdom, because you know what? I don't feel I have it. Actually, that's one of, when you pray for certain graces, diba? So I pray for wisdom. You know why? Because I don't really know what to do moving forward. There's a lot of guesses because you don't know what's out there. You're doing a lot of experimentation. So if there's anything, I realized during this lockdown is that we have to be gentle with ourselves. There's a lot of things we don't know, and there's a lot of things that will frustrate us, but we have to be. Now is the time to do some self-talk and be kind to ourselves, because we're going through a lot of stress. We're going through a lot of uncertainty. And that's one. Let's be kind to ourselves and give ourselves a break. Why do I say that? Sometimes we'll be moody and we'll hurt, the people we care for because we're moody, right? But we don't know why we're moody. It's because we're stressed, right? So be kind to yourself and forgive yourself, because a lot of the things that we're doing that we don't want to do, we end up doing just because of the current situation. That's one. The other thing is, and I heard this from a priest today. A priest celebrated Mass. It was the birthday of one of my close friends. He said, you have to find your meaning and your why. If you don't find your meaning, if you don't know your meaning and your why, then every day feels really like a prison or a lockdown. But when you're clear on your meaning and your why, then then the whole COVID pandemic and lockdown situation is just another situation. But your why is solid. Pag wala ka talagang why or meaning, then every day is a chore. And so for me, I'm very clear on my why. My why is really on education. Diba? For me, education, as baduy as it may sound, is my only way to really disrupt the way things are done in this country. I really don't like the way this country is run, but I'm not leaving. Why do I say that? I feel so much pain that in this lockdown, you can really see the disparity between the rich and the poor. Diba? Here I am, able to order food. I complain. I was telling my daughter, you complain this and that. But look, the other people don't even know where they're going to get their food. And they're going to rely on dole outs. And the dole outs are even, as from what I've heard, it's even missing, right? A lot of the dollars even they have so many hungry people, and you can really see the difference between the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots, and that is the structure that is really wrong in this country. And and I believe my why is the only way I could disrupt that country, that structure, is through education, by through my influence, even though it's a small group of people. But that's where you create the ripple effect, di ba? Uh, in one of my favorite movies, uh, The Gladiator, there's a quote there, uh, what you do in life echoes for eternity. Di ba? So the ripple effect. So knowing your why will keep each day here in this lockdown have meaning. And we have to do that if we are going to come out better and not bitter from this lockdown. So there. So that's what I could share. Not words of wisdom, just real experience.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's so amazing with what you've said, is that it's, it's just being real. It's being, coming from your heart and the passion that you have done and experienced by helping others, and through education, just like this platform, In Love With Me is a platform for promoting mental health, because it is real right now, and this is a platform letting everyone know that you're not alone. We're all in this together, and we're all here to inspire each other, to educate each other. Takeaways from Joel today is check in with others, check in with your family and your friends daily, even if it's just a quick phone call, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. It's just letting them know, hey, I'm here. I'm here to listen. I'm here to listen to you. Still stay hungry with your desires, right? Joel mentioned that know your dreams and passions can still come true if you make sure that you motivate and inspire yourself. He expressed that the new norm is e-commerce, and it's been happening. So for the young entrepreneurs there that are trying to build the creative juices, already e-commerce is the new norm, or it has been around. So build a business around that, right? Support local, as Joel also mentioned, that we should be supporting our local farmers and agriculture and companies. So especially for the young Filipinos who are aspiring businessmen and women, it's your time. It's always been your time. So we have platforms like this to inspire and share your hard work. So with that, actions speak louder than words. And thank you, Joel, for being part of this campaign. Everyone, please be tuned in our next episodes as we have other inspiring individuals just like Joel. So thank you, Joel.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you,
course.
guys, for
Thank
listening.
you so much. And I have other questions for you, so please wait first before you go. I will take us off live.